Welcome my dear student. I am Ranjan Nayak, Asst Professor in Mechanical Department of VIT. As I continue the classes of transmission systems completed, braking system is completed. Now it's the part of engine which I already get started. In previous classes I just discussed about the fundamentals and briefly about the engines, the ignition coils, how the ignition coil works, what is the basic function of ignition coil, how the vehicle is going to get start. After starting of the vehicle to the ignition coil, the most important part of vehicle is known as engine. There is actually two type of engine. One is internal combustion engine, another one is external combustion engine. Internal combustion or external combustion means is that when the combustion takes place inside the chamber of an engine is known as internal combustion engine simply, and in the short form briefly is named towards IC engine. When the combustion takes place outside the engine chamber is known as external combustion engine, that known as EC engine. So first of all, what do you mean by engine? Engine means any devices, take it any type of system, maybe take any type of system or any type of devices, mainly devices under which there is a conversion of energy takes place, that the input energy with whatever the input energy it converted into the mechanical form of energy. That means it is a type of the devices in which there is a conversion of the different type of input energy into the mechanical form of energy. The output energy must be the mechanical form of energy, whereas in the input energy should be numerous type of energy. Maybe it not mandatory that only mechanical energy would be input in it. It may be chemical energy, maybe kinetic energy, okay, maybe fuel energy, whatever may be. But as the irrespective with the internal energy or input energy, the output is only the external or the mechanical energy. Engine is the heart of the automobiles. Not in automobiles, any devices which is running is a heart is known as the engine. So one example I want to give, that is the external combustion engine. Where is the external combustion takes place? Okay. We basically know about the internal combustion engine because all sort of things or combustion takes place inside the chamber of the engine. External combustion means simply the example which we already come across in our life is in market when there is a chulha type things is there, the coal is burned in the chulha, okay, the harnet furnace type thing, not the open furnace, not the closed furnace, open furnace. In the market जो open चूल्हा, market में जो open चूल्हा मिलता है वहाँ पे जो कोयला जलता है उसको हम इसी इंजन टाइप का कह सकते हैं. मतलब बर्निंग जो कंबशन होता है वो इसी इंजन तो नहीं कहेंगे, वहाँ आप कह सकते हैं कि वो एक्सटर्नल कंबशन हो रहा है. ओके, it is not an engine. In the market there is a chula, it is not engine because there is no conversion of energy takes place or the any transformation of energy takes place, but the combustion is external. And go for the engine of EC engine or external combustion engine, that example is just like our previously steam engine, previously coal type engine, ship which are running through the steams or coal, and that type of engines are known as external combustion engine, where the chambers outside the chamber part just like simple of chula, it is get burned and converted into the different type of energy. Output is the mechanical energy irrespective with the internal form of the energy. So now today we will discuss about particularly on the automobile engine, it is the IC engine part, it is the internal combustion engine. An engine or a motor is a machine designed to convert the one or more form of energy into a mechanical form of energy. The internal combustion or the shortcut is IC engine. Briefly they can say about classified of the heat engine, where is chemical energy is fuel is transferred into the shaft work, that is the mechanical form of energy. Output is one, it is so named because the combustion occur inside the combustion chamber, it is an integral part of a working fluid flow through it. That means is that the fuel containing the chemicals, that chemicals, the fuel is a two type of fuel, okay, there is a petrol or diesel, it is the octane and certain numbers are there. We can, according to the octane and certain number, you can able to define the petrol and diesel. Petrol, diesel is the terms which we are used in normally that to understand what is the petrol engine, what is the diesel engine. Two different type of fuels are there, okay. The part of the both petroleums, product of both different type of parts, whereas or different type of categories of the fuel. Whereas there is different engine, petrol engine is different, diesel engine is different, but the working principle is 90% similar. There is a certain difference, but the similarity is there. Another thing is, according to the numbers in the chemically formed by the octane and cetane number, they also classified into it. The main components of IC engines, the components of the IC engine means it consists of both petrol and diesel engine, okay. But there is two things which is difference between petrol and diesel engine in normally, whereas spark plug in there is 3, the bit number 3 is spark plug written over here. It is generally find out in the IC engine like petrol engine, whereas in this part, the spark plug, there is a injector. There is a full injector there in the diesel engine. That is the mainly difference, and there is other forms of difference also there, which is I will discuss in the further classes. But now we will go into details about only the basic component of IC engines, which is commonly both engines are there. First of all, there is exhaust camshaft. First is exhaust camshaft. The exhaust camshaft, this diagram, the red color, the upper part of the red color is number 1, it is the exhaust camshaft is there. The exhaust camshaft means it is a cam type of movable workings. Cam means it working just like a time flow. One side is nozzle type, pointed type, another type is semicircle type. That means it is when the pointer type just touches to this valve, it will move inside, valve will be open, and when the pointer side go upward, at that time valve will return to original position, that means the valve will close. So the number 1 plays an important role. This cam is connected to that means of system of the ignition part of the motor, okay, and through that means of belt with the crankshaft, okay. So number 1 and number 5 both are same thing, but number 1 is camshaft of the exhaust camshaft. This red color type is exhaust part, where the engine smoke, the output of the engines after combustion is just out from this part, that is number 1, it is the camshaft is there. Similarly, in the intake valve, there is the intake camshaft is number 5, okay. Number 5 is intake camshaft is number 5. Rotation, just look the same type of rotations over there, 5 and 1. Next is number 2, exhaust valve bucket. Just side of this number 1 or exhaust camshaft, there is the exhaust valve bucket which is guide the camshaft and the valve for the transmitting of the power from the camshaft into the exhaust valve, okay. That is number 2 is similar to the number 4. Number 2 is the exhaust part, that is the exhaust valve bucket, and number 4 is the intake valve bucket. Same thing for the both different side. That means this right hand side that you are looking towards, that is this right hand side, it is the intake part. The fuel is enter in this part. After the combustion, the smoke is exhaust from this left side part, okay. This is completely exhaust part, this is completely intake part. Next, number 3, spark plug. In number 3 spark plug, the spark is generated. I already discussed about the spark plug details in the previous classes in the ignition coil and ignition chamber. Go to that video to learn about more about it. This spark is generated over here. This will help to burn the fuel. The number 3 is the spark plug connected in it. In the diesel engine, generally this spark plug is replaced by fuel injector. Next is number 4 and 5 I already discussed. Same thing like 1 and 2. Next 6 is exhaust valve, 7 is intake valve. 6, the red color is the exhaust valve. 7 is intake valve, where the valve, what is the function of valve normally? Valve function is to control the action of fuel and air combustion, air and fuel mixture in intake part. In the exhaust part, the smoke will out, okay. The smoke will move out from this port. Here the black color is there is known as exhaust port. This it is known as intake port. In the intake port and exhaust port, this is a pathway where the smoke will out in the exhaust port. This is the pathway where the air fuel mixture come inside it, okay. This black color path. The intake part, air fuel mixture come through it. That is valve means control over it. The air fuel mixture guided. Then the exhaust valve also smoke is guided through means of this exhaust valve is red color, and from the exhaust port the smoke will be draw outside of the engine. Next, this is a TDC and BDC, the top dead center and bottom dead center of the engine cylinder. Top dead center means the upper part of the cylinder, and bottom dead center means the lower part of the cylinder part. Okay. The complete area is just swept. When the swept volume, we can say about to complete volume or engine complete part is the swept volume, the piston is go up and it is otherwise known as the swept part or the swept volume or complete volume. Next, there is another cylinder head. 8 is cylinder head. This one is cylinder head outside the chamber. Then 9 is piston. 9 is piston, 10 is piston pin. This piston is the integral part made up of cast iron and aluminum. Not cast iron, it is made up of cast iron aluminum alloy. Mainly in the means of the aluminum part of the alloy, mainly the most component is aluminum, cast iron is the less over here. The upper part of piston and the valve and the spark plug, that gap is known as the clearance volume where the fuel combustion takes place. And this is the most important part, it is undergoing the up and down positions or the up and down vertically movement takes place over here. Then other translation motion, you can say it is a translation motion. Then this piston pin is their connection of this piston through means of connecting rod to the main crankshaft. Connecting rod is 11. 11 is connecting rod that only help to connect. It is completely made up of cast iron. This 11 is completely made of cast iron. That connecting rod that helps to transmitting of the motion from the piston through the help of piston pin and connected by means of the crankshaft. Okay. Then number 13 is the crankshaft. Crankshaft is the last part of the engine where the power is transmitted to the wheels from the engine. The power that is developed in the engine that transmitted to the vehicle, the 4-wheel or 4-wheel drive or the 2-wheel drive to the backside or the rear side of the engine by means of through this crankshaft. It is the last part of engine through which the power is transmitted from the engine. Last is 12. The 12 is engine block. Engine block is the upper part or the outside part. Normally, which we are seeing, we are looking towards the outside of the engine of our vehicle, that is known as engine block. Inside the engine block, all the components are there. This is the basic diagram, symmetric diagram of the engine, where this engine is completely present similarly in both SI engine, also in petrol and also in the diesel engine. Okay. Next, that I already discussed this all sort of thing, exhaust camshaft that help for the exhaust valve to guide, exhaust valve bucket that guide the transmission of the motion through the camshaft to the exhaust valve. Spark plug produces spark to ignite the fuel air mixture. The combustion takes place. Intake valve bucket and intake camshaft, same thing. They are going to undergoing the same function as the exhaust camshaft and in exhaust valve bucket, but in the intake part where there is a fuel and air mixture come inside the engine. And exhaust valve where the smoke is just outside of the valve through means of exhaust port. Intake valve where fuel and air mixture come inside the engine through the means of intake port. After that, there is a cylinder head. The topmost part of the cylinder is known as cylinder head that comprises of the bottom dead center and the top dead center, completely cylinder head and cylinder body. Then piston is between that is the yellow color picture is there, the piston, that piston is up and down, translation motion takes place. That translation motion which takes place after combustion, the pressure which released through means of piston. The area where the combustion takes place between the spark plug and the piston is known as the clearance volume or the volume consisting in it. Total volume is there, an amount of the volume where the piston is moved from bottom dead to top dead and top dead to bottom dead is known as swept volume, and total volume is known as total volume of the cylinder. And the piston pin which helps, piston pin is just a pin which helps to connect the connecting rod towards the crankshaft, and engine block is the outside part of the engine. It is the complete details about the part and components of the IC engine, which also present in both SI and CI engine. There is certain differences are there, certain discriminations are there, which is I will discuss in the next classes in the further. But in the next classes, we are going to discuss about the working principle of IC engine, which is most important than the IC engine. We are just know about the component of the IC engine, then how the IC engine works, how the power is developed, how the fuel air mixture is takes place, how the combustion takes place, how from the exhaust port the smoke is got move out of the engine, how the completely power stroke, the power is developed on the crankshaft, it transmitted to a different part of the vehicle through the engine. Okay, this will discuss it in the next class, which is more interesting than the today's classes. So up to for the next classes, stay tuned for the next classes. I am going to explain the working piece of IC engine. Up to it, stay happy. Thank you very much.